I'm wondering, personally, as we listen to you today, I'll be drawing parallels to things he's taught me on the way, and I wonder if your methodologies are the same. So, ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Charles Tate.
Hi, good morning, everybody. And I go by Charlie, but growing up, my dad was also Charles. So I got Charles until I went to college, and then I broke away from that, and I was Charlie pretty much after that. But excuse me. Thank you for joining us today. And I know this group is a little bit more on the technical side. So being on the sales side, I welcome being interrupted. So if I'm going through anything or going too fast, please leave your mics on and just you don't have to raise your hand. Just interrupt and we can stop and go from there. So a little bit about myself is I'm from Rhode Island. I've been here for pretty much my whole life. I spent a dozen or so years up in Boston for school and then went back up there for business. I'm currently in Bristol, Rhode Island, which is a small town, Rhode Island. And Rhode Island actually had 6 state houses, and I'm in one of them. So it's really neat. It's a historical building. We take up the first floor, and it's just a really nice place to work, and it's right on the water. This was not taken today, but the temperature out here is about 30 degrees, kind of cold for around here now, but it's beautiful. What I like to do is kind of go through who I am, what I do, who we help. It's going to be done more as a personal thing, but it's also how inside sales can be leveraged for other companies. I think what we do is best practices, and our best practices can be adopted by folks, whether they want to do it inside, outside. We can, whether it's outsourced or not, and we can go over a couple of reasons why it's good to take it in-house and keep it part of your company, and then also some of the benefits for having it as an outsourced service like we do. Once again, what this conversation is going to be about is really how to help outside salespeople with the use of inside sales. It's still kind of rare in the medical community. Everybody in most other industries use it for a lot of reasons that we'll go over, but it still doesn't have a very high adoption rate. It is growing as we speak, but a lot of companies, probably still less than half of them, have an inside component, where most other industries with fairly similar complicated products to sell have used inside sales for years. A little bit about myself. I've been doing various things for the past 30 plus years. I've worked for myself for about 35 years now. I've had different companies. I started off in technology during the dot-com era in the 90s. And I was up in Boston, and we built out internet service providers. And we did that exclusively over the phone. And then from there, as the internet started changing and our customers wanted more services, I started an information security company. And we were highly recognized, and Gartner put us on their map. So that was kind of like my claim to fame, to be part of their magic quadrant. What I think I've learned through the years is something pretty simple, and that's take a very complicated product or service and figure out how to explain it in 30 seconds or less. And from there, the appetite gets whet, and then you take it from there. So obviously, we don't explain the whole thing in 30 seconds, but we can get people interested in something to say, ooh, I want to learn more. And we've done a very, very good job of figuring that out. And with it, that's really what helps our customers. Where and why we help our customers and where we fall into play now. Outside sales reps are extremely expensive, and they're overworked in a lot of sense, and they're doing a lot of things that they don't need to be doing. We can offload a lot of the tasks, whether it's generating qualified opportunities, or just eliminating some problems from the daily grind, so they can spend more time on, if you think of a sales funnel, we work the top really well. If they can spend more time on the bottom 2/3 of the funnel, and we can spend more time on the top third of the funnel, they close a lot more business. And we can generally service a 1-to-3 or a 1-to-5 ratio of inside sales folks to outside. And the ROI is pretty remarkable to get them closing and not worrying about having a constant stream of business coming in. How we do that is we just eliminate the daily grind. A lot of problems that they have day to day, we can offset. And what usually happens is when people have problems, they look at new business development as something they know they have to do. We all have to do it, but a lot of times it gets put off. So with that, we do that 100% of our time. We focus on the top part of the funnel, and it's very consistent. And what's also nice about it is, as an outsourced service, we're outside of all the politics. We're outside of all the things that bog people down, that sometimes we're privy to it, sometimes we're not. But we have our marching orders and we just go. That's sort of what makes it successful and why it works well. We've also, I remember on the last call, somebody asked, I think it was, do you guys have a sales process, or do you have a formal Gantt chart or something like that? And Mark said he did. Some other people said they do, but they don't have time for it. We are very much steeped in process. We're very consistent because of our process. What we do is, before we start an engagement, we break out the sales process. Folks should have a sales process. Some do, some don't. But before we start, we break it out into these 5 or 6 stages, and some of them change, but really whatever you're selling has a 5 or 6 stage process. And then we go down each one and we figure out what we can do efficiently over the phone and what we can't. With healthcare, a lot of it gets determined by group norms. We can go in deeper than a lot of things we do, but in certain instances, doctors want to see a rep. They want certain things. So even though we may be technically capable of doing something, we refer to the outside rep because that's not what the marketplace is as of yet. So heavy process, defining the process and keeping to it and adjusting it is a big part of our success. And also when companies do this, it's to their success as well. Then once we actually start doing it, what's challenging is not doing it one day. What's challenging is doing it 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, 200 days a year. That's what we're really good at. And that's where the consistency comes in. An average rep between emails and LinkedIn and other things and plain cold calling, we do about 8,000 contacts per year. It really gets some multipliers and really gets a lot of opportunities. What's interesting with cold calling and market development, and this goes across not just medical device, but just about all products. Most encounters, people actually react on the 5th to 7th engagement, 5th to 7th touch. Most people think cold calling won't work because most people stop at 4. And with us, you occasionally get somebody at 4, but most of the time you get that at 5 to 10. So before you can say something's successful or not, you kind of have to look at what is the definition of success. And if it's 7 to 8 calls and you're only making 5, we kind of know what those outcomes are.
So
that's also really challenging. Yep.
Are you talking dials or conversations?
Dials, not to get to a conversation.
To have someone pick up.
To pick up, yeah. So to pick up, so call, leave a message, email. What we do is we craft our voicemails, which most people don't listen to anymore, but we craft our voicemails and we craft our emails to tell a story. So after we leave a voicemail, and we target each voicemail that's slightly differently to build the story to try to figure out what will get this person to respond.
I'm curious, when someone responds after you've attempted 7 times, do they start off with something like, God, you're persistent, or something like that?
Sometimes they do.
Like a sense of like, if calling you is the only way I'm going to get you to leave me alone. I mean, I think to most people, when they hear that you're going to call them 7 times before you even pick up, can you imagine someone leaving a message on your cell phone 7 times? I mean, like, who the hell is this guy and how do you get my number?
Well, we usually leave from office phones, so we don't really do cells as much. We can, but we usually don't. And that's kind of what works. And very rarely, sometimes if somebody doesn't like it, if they say do not call, we don't call.
Right.
We never send an unsolicited email. So we have email addresses through various tools we use, so we know what the emails are. We'll usually speak to the receptionist or somebody and say, okay, went to voicemail the last time. Would it be okay if I leave a voicemail and follow with an email? So we do it in a very gentle but persistent way.
Mhm.
And then we also stage it out every 3 or 4 days. So it's not 7 days in a row.
Mhm.
Uh, so we have a very proven cadence of what we do, and it
Mhm.
goes from 3 to 5 days depending on the call. So a lot of it looks like it's almost not intentional, but it's very intentional.
Now, I
And
know that the tone of my voice is like, sounds like disapproving, like, oh my God, I'm getting all these calls. I will say that years ago I had a good conversation with a friend who has nothing to do with medical device. Many of you know that I sing, and I worked on my chorus's website, and I added live chat to it. And Larry wrote me on the live chat, and he's like, and I told him, and he's like, I hate this shit. If I wanted, kind of thing, you're mucking up the site kind of thing. And I said, well, I'll tell you this. And I gave some stats about how live chat has made me a lot of money. I said, if someone's turned off by the fact that I have live chat on my site, the chances of them having been a customer are pretty low. And that's okay, because I don't need to entertain people on my medical device website. I'm there to help people who want to be helped. A corollary to that is people trying not to be too salesy on their sites, and that's fine. I appreciate dialogue, as you see, candor, as you know. And if in fact you're selling something that people will find useful, why wouldn't you let them know about how you can be useful? So I'm with you. Sales often gets a bum rap or what a pest kind of thing. You're not a pest for people that you help a lot, and they may not self-identify as someone who needs Charlie Tate services until they hear and understand more about what those services are.
yeah, what's also interesting with that is I started in healthcare. A good friend of mine brought me into J&J, and this is from technology over to healthcare. And with technology, you can have a one call close. If you give them further inducements and other things, you can convince somebody to buy in one call.
Mhm.
And I'm thinking, I'm bringing that knowledge over to healthcare. And boy, was I wrong. I'm like, J&J, the best product,
Mhm.
superior all across the board. I
Mhm.
was thinking that we're just going to light the world on fire. And
Mhm.
then what I learned is how doctors behave very slowly. They build trust. Even though you're from J&J, they still want to know you. They want to make sure that you're going to be around before they buy, which was
Mhm.
totally fascinating to me. Uh, Thinking that the rep actually had influence more so in some cases than the actual company. And when we do our voicemails and emails, we actually build a story. And part of that story is building a relationship with them. So we're not trying to go for the close quickly. And how we look at it is an average call takes about 2 minutes. We do 40 a day. Even if it's 10, we're looking at about 20, 25 minutes in the with everything going on, which is really a short amount of time. But it allows people to get an understanding like, wow, this person is going to call me back, which may be annoying. And sometimes they say, don't call me back, and we don't. But it also shows that if I do engage with this person, the probability of them to continue this type of relationship, if I need them, they're going to be around, is probably there. So there are some benefits. There are some people that don't want you, but I think it's kind of what you were saying, Joe. They probably don't want you anyway. Uh, so that's kind of what we found
I've
with
known
this.
rejection all my, anyhow, we don't need to get into that. Sorry, that's my 10 o'clock. Um, um, okay, please
well,
continue.
well, good. Well, next thing, what we do here and what I think we do a pretty good job of is we hire great people. And a lot of people say that, but we actually really do. And they're managed, I think, very well, seeing that they're managed by me, which I've just been doing this for a long time. And this is my dog who's in the office most of the time, and she's kind of like therapy dog. She's just here first, but
Are you showing a slide right now? Because we don't see a dog.
oh, you don't see a dog?
No,
Oh, you don't see my presentation?
we haven't at all. We've been,
Oh, I'm on slide 4.
well, you've been so engaging and frankly handsome that we didn't notice.
Whoa. Well, now I'm definitely going to be this is the understatement because now
Oh,
There we go.
Oh, so I had all these great pictures. We'll go quickly.
You're saying that your dog is compliant with Advamed?
Oh, she is. Yeah.
Mhm.
So that's my office. So that's
Oh,
my
that is
office.
beautiful.
Yeah, and that's where we are. We're on the first floor here, and it's great. We're on the common. That's my family. Um, the
When was
office
that
is
taken?
uh during one of the this year. It was down in South Carolina. It's during this year,
Hmm.
uh, and that was a nice time spent at my sister-in-law's home.
Okay.
And then this was just where we talked about some of the struggles of how salespeople have a lot of things that they need to do that we can help out with. And then basically the grind, and then basically our process. That's the 6-stage process we went through. So we actually have drop downs for each one to go into great detail before we make our first call.
I still don't see your slides.
You
Oh.
still don't.
I do.
Okay.
I see him.
Yeah, we see them.
I do see it.
Y'all reconnect or something.
Okay, sorry about that. And then this is what I was talking about,
Luma.
our dog and our management. So a lot of inside sales is thought of as a secondary type thing. And with it, they have sometimes for larger companies that it's part of their culture. They have good management and good managers. With smaller companies that only have a couple of reps, a lot of times it's just somebody else's job to manage inside sales. And with it, there's not a lot of attention spent to it. And with it, it doesn't get the consistent performance that we get. I've been very fortunate that I love this. I really enjoy phone calls and I love inside sales. So it's something that I've made my career out of. And what's nice with it is I've been able to attract a lot of young, talented people, usually second job out of college, that want to get into.
So Charlie.
Yep.
David, are these cold calls or do they have leads? You know, can you talk a little, or are you going to get there?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. So it's sort of all of the above. Depending on the customer, some customers have certain key accounts they want us to develop. So they may have one provider using the product in a hospital network, let's say. They're already on formulary. They already have a contract. They can sell it in.
Yeah,
and now
that's
they
an
need more
easy
help.
one. Yeah,
That's an easy
one.
That's an easy one, but it needs a lot of touch.
Oh, sure.
But it is an easier one. And we'll go over a couple of case studies of how that works. And then there are other customers that are brand new to a market. They just have reimbursement in a new area. They have no new business. What they do is they come to us and say, we want this product in an office environment that has X amount of providers. Payer mix is this, and they're using this competitive product. Go get them. So that's a different profile. So based on what we do is we work with our customer, and that's sort of what this is, to establish the opportunity. And what establishing the opportunity really means is what's good. How do you define good? We're not going to give you a lead. We're not going to set up a meeting unless it's based on what you say is good. Most of the time, it's 3 to 5 requirements. The smaller the account, the more qualified. So if it's a small account, we'll give them 5 for 5. If it's getting them into a very, very large account, they know the account is perfect. They just have to get in there. So in some of the larger accounts, they may be less information, but just as highly qualified because they already know they're supposed to be there.
Okay, thanks.
Sure. So this is what just some of the folks through the years that have been working with me. And this is sort of the profile we hire towards. And this is why I think we're very successful. We don't hire people that want inside sales for a career, for a lifetime. We want the person who wants to launch their career. They don't know how to get into a large company for sales. They need the 2 years experience. They don't know where the 2 years experience is. Well, we provide that 2 years of experience. It works incredibly well for me because I enjoy teaching. It works very well for them because I have a really good track record of hang out with me for a couple of years, launch your career here, and I'll help you get your job. We've also had a few instances where the inside person went to an outside role for the same company. They knew their worth ethic. They knew how good they were. They were already qualified. They might have been a little bit younger than and less experience than what they normally hire against. But they've been working with this individual for over a year, so they picked them up. So that's something that I pride myself in, something that I really enjoy. And what it also has allowed me is a lot of my customers are with me for anywhere from 6 months to a year and a half, and then they go away. And then they come back another year later and we do another engagement. So if it's done well, it works well. And I think a lot of it comes from the individuals doing it. So these
So
are
here's a
some,
question.
Yep.
What is the smallest business that you engage with? I mean, I could see you doing work for a medium-sized or large-sized business, but would a business like mine, a 1 or 2 man consultancy, would that be too small for you to effectively represent, or how would that work?
what is your business? Like, what do you sell? What is your product or service?
My product is finished designs for medical devices. So I'll go from concept as early as they want to start, all the way till send it off to the manufacturer so that they can build it.
I would say probably our cost would be too high. I could probably give you 2 or 3 leads a month, which probably wouldn't justify the cost. We worked with Zymetica. I don't know if you know those folks out of Providence. They're exclusively design.
Heard of them?
Yeah, we were very successful with them. They were a larger company, and what
Yep.
they wanted us to go after was revisions. So they've been doing it for 20 years. So we went back after their customer base. So it's still a very technical sale, similar pitch that we would do for you. But because we were calling people that were already familiar with them, and they were about 5 years out of design, it was a perfect time to call them again. So in the design world, probably not. With small startup medical device companies, we've worked with a lot of companies that had only a couple of salespeople, and we're tired of traveling for one meeting. So for those, when we have to make a meeting into a hospital, we usually get about 10 of those meetings a month. When we have to get a meeting for a doctor's office, we usually get between 15 and 30 a month. So based on what the product is or services that we're selling, I've done this so many times, I can tell the potential customer, how many we can get, and then divided by my fee, then we can justify whether it works or doesn't.
How do you set your fee?
Up front, it's $8,500 a month, and we do that for 3 or 4 months. And then we go into a shared, which is 6 and 2. And then after 6 months, it's a 50-50 split between fixed fee of $4,000 and then at performance, another $4,500. And then we like to make more with accelerators.
I'm sorry, did I hear you say that you started $500 a month?
No, $8,500 a month.
That's different by many times. I
Yes.
misheard you.
Yeah, and you can get services around $3,000 a month that are offshore. Ours are all managed here.
Right.
We're all college
do you-
graduates.
How much of your dialing is automated?
Very little. We use Salesforce. We have the little icon that automatically dials it, but very little of that.
So you're saying you have some well-compensated people who are.
No, that part's done. 100% of that part is done. If it's in Salesforce, it has a phone number. You click onto it, it automatically dials out. But when I think of automatically dialing, I think of predictive dialing. That'll have a call queued up before they hang up the next one. We don't do that. We work off task lists and we work off opportunity lists.
So
Because-
so there are people making a decision based on going into Salesforce who I'm going to call next.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay. So
And
I
how
can't
that
like be doing something over here, and when I finally get something beyond a ringtone, I can look over here and see who I'm talking with.
Yeah, and it's not a total random thing. We break out. So basically, somebody needs about 40 tasks for the next day, and we plan a task report the night before of what they're going to be doing the next day. And of that, we break it out into 3 groups: A, B, and C. The A's are something that are your really good ones that we feel that those can move into
Mhm.
getting a meeting or getting something good. The B's
Talk
are
about
some-
we. So is it that each of your team members is making that choice for his or herself, or is there some kind of Charlie's involved, let's look at your funnel
Yes,
conversation every day?
it's done by me at night, reviewed daily. So before they go home at night, they know what they're going to be calling tomorrow. And that gets reviewed with them and with me. We do use paper. A lot of people like to print it out.
Paper?
I know, it's one of those things. Everything's in Salesforce, so they don't need to use paper, but it's a visual of what their top 5
Are
accounts
those
are.
humans in that building with you?
Yes, yes.
Wow.
Yeah, we're old school and it works well. Now, the reason for paper is because some people still like to use notes. All our systems we use Salesforce pretty much exclusively.
What did you
And
do
we'll
during
use-
COVID? Did they work from
Oh, well,
home?
no, that was different. That we
And have you
weren't.
seen a difference in performance based on they're in the office versus they're not?
There's so many variables. We like having people here. I like it's a collaborative effort. It's also more of a culture thing.
Mhm.
Probably it could be done outside. I just don't like that. I like working with people.
So when you bring someone on, either they're in Rhode Island or thank you anyhow, we are all on site.
Yes. Yeah, Rhode Island, parts of Massachusetts are close by, but absolutely.
Well,
And they
yeah,
know that.
I mean, a drive, they are either
Yeah.
coming in or they're not.
Absolutely. And they know that going in. A lot of that is a pre-interview question before we even interview.
Mhm.
Now I have one person that's been with me a number of years. She's has a young child. She works at home a couple of days a week, works here a couple of days a week. But
Mhm.
that's after working with me for 2 years. And she's a little bit different. So her career is she wants to spend more time at home. So she's almost a
Started
part-time person.
synchronized in what year?
Pardon?
You started your company in what year?
10 years ago. I don't remember exactly when. I've been
Yeah.
doing this for over 10 years.
And all of the folks on the slide before are your full-time W-2 employees?
No, what those are is those are people that have worked with me and now they're at Amgen.
Oh, I see. These
Zimmer,
are customer
Oracle.
pictures.
No, these are where these are folks that worked for me in the past 10 years.
Oh, I see.
So they also have their career with me. And now they're at their so-called dream jobs. They're all at the big companies.
How many people are on your team right now?
7.
7, okay.
So it's small. I've always run about that number.
No, it doesn't seem small to me.
Yeah, it's
I mean,
an
for
enjoyable
what you're
space for
doing.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, it's a good space.
Okay.
So,
And are you the only one that would be considered senior management? Or do you have anyone that's kind of at your level? Because I know that I'm hoping to get to meet you in 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And you just signed some new business and I'll share now what was private, that when you're starting up something, you really need to be on site to get it kicked off. And when I heard what you're doing, like every day we're looking over your funnel, I'm thinking like, we're talking 2 days here. I mean, can't anyone?
yeah, they can. And the whole thing about the indispensable person, stick your hand in a bucket of water and pull it out. That's about how indispensable you are. But I leave occasionally. I take vacations. I mean, we have people that step up that have been here at different levels. So it's not a one-man show. If I'm sick or want to take some time off, went to South Carolina with my family.
Well, if you want to, if it helps you to reframe 10X as a vacation, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I think I am.
Okay, good.
But yeah, so no, it's you can see with the gray hairs and the young kids. I started my family late. My first child was when I was 45. So I kind of did the whole gamut of traveling 5-7 days a week and did all that. And then took some time off and settled down a bit. And with it, this business for me, it provides a very good service. It provides a very good living. And it also provides a lifestyle for me that my office is 3 miles from my home. So
Nice.
there are a lot of things that I've been doing that are personal within my business. So I've almost crafted the best job for me. And with it, that's kind of how some of these things have happened. Maybe it's not the best job for somebody else,
Mhm.
but it's almost my personal job
Mhm.
that I created for myself. And that's why there are some of these things that I could do, maybe somebody else could do, but I just choose to do them because I feel very comfortable with the size of it, where it is for what I need and what I want.
May I ask how many slides do you have?
Just a few more.
I'm wondering, are one of them going to show us somewhat of a process? I mean, I know you showed one earlier.
Yep.
But
Yeah, we can look at
Yeah, let's look at your case study here.
Yeah, so this one was it's a women's health product. It's actually it's a device that is it looks like a tube. It almost looks like a gummy bear about the size of my pinky, and it's a rod, and it gets inserted in the cervix, and then it swells, and as it swells, it stimulates the cervix into delivery, into labor. So it's non-pharmacological. It's a very, very simple product. However, the sales process was very complicated. And what made it complicated was the hospital had to buy it, but most of the doctors in the hospital weren't employees of the hospital. They had private practices around the hospital. So it's really a two-fold sale. So first was we had to get the product into the hospital, on contract in the hospital. And we did that by setting meetings with certain people in the hospital. And then once that was done, to have adoption and utilization, we had to set up meetings with all the individual doctors that would deliver babies within the hospital. So it was kind of an interesting product that this was more of a logistics play and more of an awareness play. And what was nice about this, it was such a simple product. We did a lot of the demonstration over Zoom. So we sent lunches to different OBGYN clinics, and we did some meetings over Zoom, and it worked really well. So it was interesting because they thought it would be something easy to sell because it was simple. The simplicity of the product was there, but it was a very complex sale. So that's something that was a great utilization. And they also, you mentioned how large, small sales force, they only had 5 reps to cover the country.
Mhm.
So the reps could be utilized for the hospital sale, but all the other sales and awareness, we did that all ourselves through the phone. Any questions on this one or
I would be interested in, perhaps after your next case study, or perhaps with your next case study, how you build a story over voicemail. Now, you quickly almost discredited yourself when you said, yeah, and nobody listens to voicemail anymore. So I'm wondering how much even gets through using that medium, and how much you expect.
Yeah, I think what's interesting is what we see is if you leave enough voicemails. So on the second and third one, people stop listening to them. And because they'll respond back, or sometimes what they'll do is they won't respond, but they'll see the phone number come up again. And with
And
it, they'll
say to
answer the
themselves
call this
what?
time. Pardon?
And say to themselves what? Like, oh, should I have to call this guy back? Or
they're going to call again. So maybe I should pick this up.
So,
okay.
yeah, my wife says, oh, Philadelphia's called me again, and we live in Indiana, a third time, and it disregards it. But I was wondering, Charlie, as you said that, what phone number pops up? Your company's or the, let's say, J&J that you're working for?
Yeah, we have it de-identified, so it just has the actual number. So it doesn't have. Yeah, so that would be a problem if our company came up. It does not. It's
Right.
the just the digits.
And when your people connect with me in this scenario as the doctor, do you say this is Charlie's company calling on behalf of company X, the manufacturer, or how does that go?
Yeah. So what makes this successful if we're totally transparent? So it's Charlie Tate calling from J&J. We go into the pitch. We have access to our customers' calendars. So if we are setting up meetings or Zoom meetings or whatever it is, we don't have to make that secondary call to say, okay, I'll get back to you. We can schedule everything on the phone. And then our email, we do have company emails from them. So whatever business we're working with, we have their email. So the customer really doesn't know that we're not part of the organization. We're fully transparent.
It looks like you're an insider, yeah.
Yeah, otherwise it's
Confusing at a minimum.
confusing and nearly impossible, because then you have to go through another 5. Even when somebody says they want something, sometimes it could still, to get that person again on the phone, it could still take another 3 or 4 phone calls and just goes into a pointless tailspin.
How often do you use voice versus attempting Zoom?
Well, we use voice first and then we go to Zoom. So we don't just try to connect with Zoom first.
Mhm.
Yeah, so a lot of our meetings that we set up for the outside sales rep, depending on where they are, that could be a Zoom call, a Teams call, depending on what they want, or it could be an in-person call. A lot of doctors will say, sure, I'll have 15 minutes at this time. Let's do a Teams call, something like that. So that's we also schedule those as well. So the meetings we schedule don't always have to be in person. With busy schedules, people are using a scheduled time for meetings as well.
Mhm.
So this was another one we did. This is so the last company was a very small company. They had just a handful of outside sales reps. This was for United Health Optum. So on the other side of the spectrum, can't get much bigger. They have hundreds, if not thousands, of inside sales folks on customer service, all that. What they had is they had a new product going after assisted living facilities, and it wasn't an area that they were familiar with contacting. And what they needed was they needed a contract. They needed the facilities to be contracted before the traditional sales force can go in there and sign up lives, patients. So what we did is we provided them with initial meetings to set up these facilities. Assisted living is more of an entertainment housing than it is healthcare. So they were very accustomed to do skilled nursing and other. This was sort of a new arena that they were working with. And we did a really good job setting up meetings with directors. And then from there, the outside person would go in. And then this was also one that worked well, that once the initial meeting was set, we did a lot of the secondary work. Because of the size of the company, they really don't change their contracts for anybody. So it's either sign it or don't. We'll put somebody on the call to say, why are you going to sign it? But there wasn't a lot of negotiating involved. So with that said, we could step in and do follow-up and answer a lot of those questions. So we did a lot more of the full sell-through with this. So this was one of those that their process stalled. We got them on track very quickly, and they used us for a period of time. This was a 9-month engagement, and until we got them on track. They accomplished their goal. After that, they did bring it inside. And we do that occasionally. Our information, we usually collect our information on our systems. That's the customer's information. We give all that back either weekly, monthly, or at the end of the engagement. So they get all the information, all the contacts that we're working on. Joe, do you have some questions on this or how I can go any deeper into this?
No, you were thorough.
Okay.
I will ask Andre, did you ever engage Mike for your company?
No, we did not.
Okay. If it's okay for you to share, a new customer for you could be easily a 6-figure engagement, yeah?
Very easily.
Okay. Could it even be a 7-figure engagement?
We have had one 7-figure engagement, yes.
Okay. So Charlie, work out the math for us. So 8,500, let's say 10 months worth to make it simple, or you give him the special MDG discount where you get 2 months free for every year. He spends $85,000 with you this year. And he can close a sale potentially of, let's say, $500,000, which is 5 to 1. Is it the traditional like 10 times, then 10 times of how big the funnel has to, here's the pool and what percent are even possible to get to that first stage, and then what percent are going to close? Does he have to have like, a reasonable pool of 700, 800, 1,000 names to even start to consider whether $85,000 spend with you would be economically viable?
Yeah, I'm pretty good at that. So what we would do is I would interview you, have a conversation of what your business is. And I've done this with so many verticals that I don't know what your close ratio is. That I can't help you with. You have to know that. But what I know is if you give me these 5 pieces of information and say, go get them, I can come back to you and say, I can more than likely get this many per month, per quarter, per year. And then for you, you would have to work the numbers backwards to see if that works. So it's an individual basis, and it depends on your requirements to put it in. Most of our customers, they want at least a 3x, 4x, and it depends on where they are. A newer company will have a little bit less because a lot of their customers, because a lot of things what we sell when we sell into a doctor's office, it's reoccurring revenue on a monthly basis. So by us setting up an account, it's not the revenue we get for month one, it's the anticipated revenue for a period of time. So we work all those into our model, and we're very good at giving you what we'll spit out, and then you have to determine if that would work well or not for yourself.
Right.
And that's truly the part that I enjoy. That's the part of my business that I really enjoy. That's the sort of business consulting that I don't necessarily get paid for. But how I get paid is by people coming back to me over and over again because I have successful engagements with them. That's how I look at it. I was taught really early on with consultants, you're only as good as your last engagement. And that was something I learned 15 years ago. And that's sort of what I go by in my business.
Well, as you know, Charlie, I recorded today's call, and we'll be putting it up on YouTube for you to make available as you see fit, to let people understand a bit more about who you are, who Luma is, and how you approach your business. So I thank you for that very much today.
Okay, well, thank you. And if there are any other questions, please let me know. And on my LinkedIn page, anybody can schedule a time with me or just message me, one or the other. I'd really appreciate it.
And of course, he's part of MDG Premium, so you can reach him on Slack. So
And Slack
for
as
Joe
well.
Hage and Joe Hage Enterprises, this has been Joe Hage with special guest Charlie Tate. Thank you very much for joining us today. We'll see you next week. Bye, everyone.